Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fawn Pod. It's friends occasionally not disagreeing. This is Cody. I'm here with our resident Marvel geeks. We got Dave and Dan in the house with us tonight. No Brett here with us tonight, who was the newbie to the Daredevil world, unfortunately. So we'll have to get some follow-up thoughts from him as we go on. Because tonight we're talking about Daredevil Born Again. Season review this time, though. Ooh, yes. So we'll check that out. Let's give these guys a chance to plug whatever they may have been up to lately, with goods and bads are all in between. Let's go down to Dan first today. Dan, what you been
All
up
right.
to?
Well, admittedly, my life has been really consumed by pussy. It's four foster kittens we've been taking care of. They're about 3 weeks old,
Oh,
so
snap.
it's basically been feeding and taking care of them quite a bit. That and trying to get through Andor season two.
This guy understands the assignment, I tell you. All right. Dandor season two and lots of cats. Do you have cats besides those?
Two, yes, yeah. This is
Damn!
I
You got
know
six cats right now?
in the house, yes.
Karen!
And how many cats do you have, Cody?
Five.
Mm-hmm. Both are about six cats too many, you guys.
Wow. You
That's
heard
right,
Dave.
Cody. You got to
You
go to
heard Dave
-1.
say it. He wants a cat corpse here at the house to have a negative
Whoa.
one. So there we go. Don't comment on that. Let it go. All right. We have one of those in the backyard, actually. So, Andor season two. Yes. Okay. And because I haven't started that yet and am contemplating, they're dropping that in like mini books, basically. Is that
3 episodes already went.
okay?
They said a new episode every Tuesday, but I don't know if they're going to do it in like sets.
Okay. Okay. All
I've
right.
heard that it is like multiple episodes per week, kind of a deal. I don't, but maybe
It,
that's wrong.
it seems like a quick turnaround based on our schedule we had. So are they dropping three every week for 4 weeks?
Let's check it out.
Or is it 3 weeks? Or I don't know if there's nine or 12 or what, but
All right.
the middle six is just them assembling the Death Star, I know. So
Wow, it according to Google, 3 new episodes dropping every Tuesday over the next 3 weeks would be concluded by May 13th.
Cody, you going to watch Rogue One at the end of it?
to celebrate,
That
I do
to
I
celebrate the best Star Wars movie?
I do love Rogue One.
Hey,
I
hey,
do
come
do
on,
not
guys!
love
It's
Andor,
second
so
best.
we'll see.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
And
Second best. You like Solo
what's
that
your
much?
top one?
It's
No,
Empire,
Ewok
Empire Rogue
Adventure.
One.
Empire
Disney
Rogue
doesn't
One.
acknowledge those.
The Star Wars Holiday Special. It's the best
Hmm.
one, you guys.
No doubt, no
All
doubt.
right, I have been playing Blueprints, and this game is fucking incredible. It's like it's become one of my top five games of all time, so far. So Dan, you look very confused. So Blueprints is a game. I played it on PlayStation. I think it's probably also on PC. I'm not sure. Um, you essentially
I
are
think
playing
so.
a character who has inherited your uncle's very unusual manner, except you have to find, in order to fully inherit it, you have to find a secret room, room 46. And the game plays like a roguelike because every time you walk into this house and open up a door, there's what was behind there yesterday is not behind there now. And you actually it'll give you three choices. Oh, do you want the billiard room to be there? Do you want the dining hall to be there? Or do you want the guest bedroom to be there? And each room has different effects, gives you different items and bonuses. And so your initial goal is to find room 46 and make your way there. And I did that after probably about 25, 30 hours of gameplay. But even once you do that, you are far from done with the game. If you can be done with it if you want, of course, but there's a lot more to discover. And I've like doubled that playtime since, and I still have a lot I'm trying to do. Essentially, it becomes a series of puzzles and mysteries, and it just over and over again, the game recontextualizes everything you've seen so far, and you realize you've been staring at clues the whole time and not realizing it. It's just a really fantastic experience, and I'm playing it completely without internet guidance, without reading anything, which I haven't done for a puzzle game for a very, very long time, and it has been an extremely rewarding experience. So, the game's called Blueprints, and I really, really highly recommend it.
Well, all right, I claim.
How about you, Cody?
Yes, I have been playing last year's Blueprints, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, with a ton of my time
Also a great one.
recently, and it's I will say it is the most I have wanted to go back and play a game, not like a replay, but like to stop what I'm doing and go play a game in a very, very long time as well. Greatly enjoying it, like you, also doing completely spoiler free, walkthrough free, internet free. Um, Minus, I think I did look up. The only thing I looked up was actually where an item was because I was just frustrated that I couldn't find it. And turns out it was in like the second room of the mansion, and I had just forgotten because it was so many hours since I was there. It was the map of the
Yeah.
first floor. And I had finished the entire first floor and hadn't found the map. And I was like, where is this thing? So I
Oh,
looked it
wow.
up and it was like right at the entrance where you never thought to relook at anything again since you walked in the house. So I found that and was like, oh, I've been to every room. I guess that's a little anticlimactic. So, but yeah, enjoying that, playing that with fellow host Justin as well. And we've been a little bit trading some notes behind the scenes, but mostly been independently playing that. That's been fun. And then the other thing I'll say here is we've been in musical mode here at the family. We went to watch our daughter's performance in Wizard of Oz recently, and tomorrow, as we record this, we're going to go to the school I teach at. We're going to go watch Urinetown, the musical, favorite of mine, and then we will also be seeing Hadestown and the Book of Mormon this summer when we go to Broadway. So it's going to
Nice.
be musical, musical, musical around here.
Yeah. Book of Mormon, one of my favorites, just incredible.
It's good stuff. It is good stuff. Um, yeah. So that's it. All right, well, let's jump into this. We'll go right in here. Daredevil Born Again season one, or is it Daredevil series season four? I guess we talked about that a bit before. These guys were both on the earlier podcast we did with the debut two episodes for this particular new, put that in quotes, show, but it is new to Disney Plus at least. So now that the run has concluded, all 9 episodes are on Disney Plus. You can go and check these out if you want to. Just some overall numbers here as the series has panned out. Pretty consistent now. I'll say we've reviewed some things in the last couple months that have been kind of all over the board with ratings, but this one seems to be a real general consensus of what the audience thinks. IMDb has this at an 8.3, and on Rotten Tomatoes, the critics have it at 87, so essentially 8.7, and the audience at 8.3, 83%. So this is a very small margin between the ratings here that we have on this one. So apparently people think this is about a B to a B plus. We'll see what we think here as we go through. To get into this now that we have finished up the show, I just wanted to start us off by taking a peek at some of the character performances in this. I guess this could also be, how much you enjoy a character, which I suppose could be independent of how you think their performance is for that character. And I have this split into two different groups here. So our returning characters, first of all, from the Netflix series, and you guys can comment on if somebody stood out or let you down, I guess, as this went on. We have Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock, Daredevil, of course, Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk, who, correct me if I'm wrong on this, did they actually call him the Kingpin yet, or did they actually kind of use that as like a title in one scene, but it wasn't calling him the Kingpin?
I feel like they called him that several times.
Did they call him that several times?
Or at least that phrase was uttered for sure.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not positive. Deborah Ann Wool as Karen, of course. Karen Page back again here. John Bernthal comes back a bit as Frank Castle Punisher.
I mean,
Um,
Karen comes back a bit too. Let's.
yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. Finishing up here with some other people that weren't in the entire series, though. Wilson Bethall as Benjamin Poindexter, aka Dex, the unnamed Bullseye, essentially.
Mhm.
And then I'm not positive on the pronunciation here. Is that Ayelet? Zuror as Vanessa Fisk. So those six are kind of our returning characters, other than Foggy, of course. I didn't put him on the list. R.I.P. Foggy, who we talked about in those first two episodes. So, anybody strike you as a particularly high or low performance, or just kind of a character arc you enjoyed a lot? We'll talk about some plot points in a bit here, but who is stealing your eyes as they were getting some screen time here in this new show?
I'll give a little bit up to point to Bullseye, just because I kind of thought he was maybe a one and done. But obviously, not only did he return, he kind of got some backstory. So like seeing a little bit more of the explanations, the backgrounds. Like we talked last time about the kind of like showing effects of Daredevil. Now seeing the kind of like the bluing of the world, kind of like his tint on reality was really enjoyable. So
Hmm.
getting to see more of that character, more than just him throwing knives at people, was pretty good.
In terms of the acting performances, I feel like everyone on this show is really doing a fantastic job. With an exception of one new character, but we'll get to that in a minute. All the returning characters, all the returning actors, I feel like really uh know their character well and are very convincing. Charlie Cox, especially, like that guy is just, you can tell he cares very much about this character and pours a lot into it. And I think it's really incredible to watch.
Yeah, that's a great point right there at the end too, Dave, because if you remember when Daredevil went off the air, when Netflix kind of had to cancel the shows and then eventually this migrated over to Disney, definitely did feel like Charlie Cox and especially Vincent D'Onofrio both like fought really hard for this show to
Oh
make a
yeah.
return and to be true to kind of what they had started, in terms of the Netflix story and style. And also, John Bernthal is Punisher a little bit as well later on, but obviously a much smaller role than those two. So, yeah, it does seem like they kind of picked up where that show left off in terms of performances. I'd agree with both of the leads in this are both, again, fantastic as they were all the way through the Netflix show as well. Um, Punisher for what he's in there, I thought was pretty good. Also, he's a character that I feel like here we could use sparingly, and have like maximum effect from him being used
Yeah, I
sparingly,
agree.
versus his own show, which I also really enjoyed as well, but totally different then. And I also like Dan, your point here with Bullseye 2, which was we were just commenting on this with the Wheel of Time show they just wrapped up on Amazon too, but like giving some of these quote unquote villains like more of a backstory and more humanity to like what's going on with them and not just like a two-dimensional, stereotype of who they are. It definitely makes the plot more interesting, I think, just to see, like we'll get to like that iconic scene at the dance later on here, but like just that idea of like different people have different versions of like, truth and justice and good and evil and all these different, themes that run through this show. Absolutely. So I did feel like Vanessa maybe, I wouldn't say she would did a bad performance job, but I just feel like she was maybe crowded out a little bit in this particular season compared to the past ones. There was just more characters that got screen time, probably took some
Yeah.
away from her.
Well, I know when we talked about in the first two episodes, especially the therapy session, it kind of felt like that was a editing job. Like they didn't film all of that kind of together, and so the actors weren't able to kind of play off of each other as much.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I feel like that you could kind of tell from her performance, like a little bit of the editing, the stitches from the original version of the show versus what actually got on Disney Plus.
Yeah, and I don't have this on here tonight, but wasn't there something about like behind the scenes? Was it like the first episode and the last two, or the first two and the last one, or something were done by a different group than that did the middle ones as well?
Yeah. In fact, I've got a conspiracy theory. I think there's more injected in there as well.
Ooh, Smilex. Let's find out what happens as we keep going here. All right, well, let's introduce the world here. If they haven't seen the show yet, they're probably like, what the heck is this all about? We got some new people that came in here for certain in season two. And I went a little light here on who I considered to be a major character, quote unquote. But so
Sure.
we're adding Margarita Levieva as Heather Glenn. That would be the new love interest here in season 1, I guess, let's call it. Janaya Walton as BB Ulrich. And then R.T. Frusciante as Buck, one of the henchmen here that was kind of prominent in some scenes. Michael Gandolfini as Daniel Blake, and Nikki James as Kirsten McDuffie, Matt's new partner at the law firm. Zabrina Guevara as Sheila, who was working with Fisk as kind of like the press secretary, for lack of a better term. And then, of course, Dan's was anxiously awaiting this one. I remember at the first podcast, Hunter Doohan as Bastion slash Muse. Did not look up if Hunter Doohan is the great grandkid of the legendary James Doohan or not from Star Trek. So somebody got to look that up. But anyway, anybody here from this group kind of let you down, or you were like, dang, they're pretty good act job, pretty good new character here.
Starting in reverse order, Muse, I think for the very small amount of time on screen, I think it was effective. But as I mentioned earlier, the conspiracy theory, you could almost take all the Muse stuff out in terms of like, oh, this is just a reshoot. This is just like a filler. Like that's now having seen the series completed and how big of a character he was in the comics versus the very abruptness of him showing up and then being done in the series. Like it really feels that they're like, hey, we need something more in the middle to break it up. We need some more of the superhero element. Let's throw in Muse as this kind of like not even B story, like C story.
See, I don't mind it because it gave Matt someone else to fight against besides the cops uh and Fisk, you know. So I agree they did kind of use him up a little more quickly than I expected. Um, but I don't know. I didn't mind it. Anyway, keep going.
Well, it gave him another reason to put on the superhero outfit that I bet the original version of the show did not have. So yeah, I think this was more of them going, hey, we first act has some really exciting stuff, last act has some really exciting stuff. We need to get some more superhero-y stuff in the middle. And Muse was a good pick, but ultimately I'm like, ugh, there could have been more there. They could have let that go a little bit longer.
Yeah, I thought he was going to stick around longer than he did for sure. Again, I don't know this character from the comics. I know Dan, you kind of mentioned him in the last podcast, but I thought, I guess maybe it's the same thing Dave's saying. I'm not positive, but I liked the element that he added, right? Because we had just for at least those few episodes where his plot was kind of central, we had kind of like these shades of like who's a hero and who's a villain, and like his specific role and personality really helped formulate whatever shape that would be. I don't even think it's a triangle, it'd be like a square or something, because you got Kingpin and Daredevil and then him, but then also Punisher's out there who has like a different set of values than Daredevil. But then there's also Bullseye. Like there were a lot of really fun elements of like these people have some things in common with each other, but not exactly the same. Um, and I recall like you speculating maybe this was going to lead to like Daredevil working with Kingpin, or like, I mean, and hell, look at what was almost happening at the end of the show here. We almost had Bullseye shooting Kingpin to kind of solve Matt Murdock's problem. I mean, there was a lot of layers of stuff that could happen here. So, his character just really opened up a lot of possibilities, I think, within the context of the season. But I do think he was gone too soon.
I want to
Anybody
talk about
else? Yeah.
I want to talk about the goober next.
Goober?
Michael Gandolfini's character was the only one that really bugged me, and his performance I thought was not great. I what who is this guy? I don't know. Like I don't know. I kind of understand the role on the show that he is filling, but I just thought that his character I I I was mad every time he was on the screen. I don't know how to say it more than that.
I I was totally into him at first. Like I was really enjoying that kind of like different element and him representing like the youth of the influencer generation. But it did towards the end of it, I was like, okay, enough. Like let's just keep going because it obviously like he had a couple points in terms of moving the story forward, but it didn't. His character didn't leave a lot of resonance long term.
Yeah, ultimate lapdog is then kind of what he turns into here. Well, I mean, yes, but in like a different way than like Buck and some of the other people that were helping Kingpin out. Yeah, would you call him David Schlub? Is that what you call him?
Goober.
A
Goober.
goober, yeah. Yeah, he is kind of a goober. Well, what about the episode where he got drunk and just kind of spilled the attack over his signal platform and
And zero surprise. That's what a goober does.
right? That's what a goober does. When you're so goobery that the goober has to possibly think about replacing the goober. That's pretty goobery. So, curious, what did you all think of Heather by the end of the season? I know the last episode in particular, maybe some comments on, maybe not, but what did you think of that actress's role?
I thought
Uh,
she did well. I think she suffered a little from like um Skylar White on Breaking Bad syndrome, where she is reasonable in her stances, but because she's like against the main character, you like just don't like her.
Hmm.
Um and so I feel like given that role, the actress did a good job, but it was still like a frustrating character to see Matt in conflict with in terms of his outlook and his perspective on things.
Also, at this point, like I understand Matt's want to keep his identity a secret, but since Karen and Foggy and Punisher and his cop friend and Josie all know about
Yeah.
who he is, like I think it would be a lot more interesting dynamic to like have this relationship where she knows and he can just say like, oh, I gotta go out and do Daredevil stuff. Or maybe she's more resistant towards him doing that stuff because she actually knows rather than this kind of subtle like, oh, I'm against vigilanteism even though I don't know you're a vigilante. I think it would have been a lot more interesting dynamic.
I mean, she's pretty dumb to not to not know that he's up to something. Like she knows he's up to something, but she just kind of like shrugs it off when he makes an excuse. And then it's like, no, he's clearly like physically fighting based on the injuries that you see him walk in with every single day.
Yeah.
How are you not pushing for the truth more?
Dave, are you calling her blind?
Oh.
But
But bum, bum, bum. I thought at the end maybe he was going to tell her that I was going to bring up that if you didn't, Dan, but basically this, I guess, needed to be the way it was for them to have like that part of the relationship be a problem for the two of them. But I also thought like you guys were saying, like he would have told her. I don't know. Because who did he didn't tell her, he didn't tell his partner either, did he? Like he
No.
just,
his
I
law
don't
firm
know.
partner, no. But the ex cop who's like constantly there knows like, every detail.
He knew in
Right.
the first scene we met him, and we
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Um, oh, I did want to say about the girlfriend too. It was very frustrating after she was attacked. Um, and then she was like, and then Daredevil came and saved her, and then he was like, "Daredevil saved you," and she was like, "Daredevil didn't save me. I saved me." It's like you did save you, but also Daredevil
Yeah.
definitely saved you.
There's-
You wouldn't have had a chance to save yourself if Daredevil hadn't first clearly saved you.
See,
She
there's an
she
opportunity.
shot him.
It would have been cool if she like would have aligned more with Punisher or something like that. Like where she's like,
Yeah,
well, he didn't get up after I took care of the
yeah,
problem.
absolutely.
It'll be interesting to see where she goes from here. We can talk about the last episode here in a smidge, but anybody else? Any other thoughts here on who do we have left? What did you think of the? I was actually liked the Sheila was her name, but like the press secretary for Fisk. I actually enjoyed that I didn't enjoy her as a like stand-up citizen for New York, like was very beholden to Kingpin in the end, despite what it may do to the city, just to kind of seemingly look out for herself. But I did think she was making that character a little more interesting than it could have been if she had just been like, this guy's evil to the police commissioner, or had no depth to or whatsoever. Like I like that she is at least the old guard, who I could picture like in a Trump White House, he'd be like, who the fuck let this person stay on in my administration and like tell me what to do? Like, what do you mean you know how this all works? We're doing it the new way, but like she's managed to wiggle in there and keep her spot and
Yeah.
continue to advise him. So
Yeah, her double cross to the police commissioner, I took me by total surprise. I had to almost like rewatch it and be like, wait, did this actually happen? She kind of like planned this all out, but added dimension.
good stuff. Good
Do
stuff.
you think she planned it, or do you think, well, I guess based on the
She had a
recording,
recording.
maybe
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if she was just walking around with phone in her purse,
Just
That is
always
recording
a
everything.
super
recording.
big spin.
Like, you
Just
never
recording.
know what side of it she's gonna get dirt on, and like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could be right.
That's interesting. Yeah. What a gruesome death as well. Police commissioner. Holy God.
That I want to talk
Yeah.
about that. That
Yeah,
was
let's
too
go into
much.
that.
And every other moment of violence in the whole season, I ranged from like okay to like wow, that was cool. And that one was too much. It was too
Yeah.
over the top. It was too goofy looking in the end, and I thought that was a mistake.
It was a lot. I literally told my friends, I'm like, it just suddenly got very Games of Thrones-esque at the end here. And like yeah, I feel like there was mere hours between them like deciding to film that, like writing into the script to like that like, oh, this is MA, we're gonna go really hard on this. Like that felt like a direct, like this is the only thing we're thinking about.
Kingpin's interesting because he's like always in these shows presented as just like superhuman essentially without having any element of superhumanism to him at all. Like he's can take super tons of abuse and somehow can like crush guys' bodies and skulls like with just his bare hands versus, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. How many times did Thanos like punch people in the face with the Infinity Gauntlet and like their jaw didn't like rip off and like Kingpin's like, I got this bitch.
Yeah, right.
So
Also,
it's pretty gory.
as gruesome and gory as it was, I also thought I don't think that would kill him. Like you get your jaw ripped off and like your eyeball popped out or whatever, but is he dead?
How
I mean, I know
anatomical
he's
are we
dead,
getting
but
here?
I don't know.
I don't I don't know.
I was more concerned that like literally no one in the crowd watching this got like flinched or got sick at all. Like everyone's just like, yeah, okay, I guess this is
It looked
happening now.
minorly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess you don't want to flinch in front of the guy who just ripped a dude's head in half.
It's NYPD, man. They see that shit every day.
I
That's
guess
what it
so.
is.
Oh, I want to take this opportunity, if I may,
Yeah.
Cody,
Go.
since we're talking about violence in the show. If someone were to listen to our first episode that we did around, I don't know, like an hour, 3 minutes, 38 seconds, let's say, they would hear me say that I don't think Matt killed those cops in the apartment at the end of the second episode. And all three of you motherfuckers told me I was wrong, that those cops were definitely dead. And then I was watching the next episode. I was like, they were wrong. So I just wanted to come back vindicated in this episode and let everyone know that I was right and y'all were wrong.
Cody,
I
we can
like,
let Dave have this little moment. It's
yeah.
fine.
I like
Mhm.
that you had that down to the second too. That's
I'm
good.
just saying, if anyone wants an exact time code, that's an hour, 3 minutes, 38 seconds. Cody, if you want to go ahead and splice that part of the episode into this episode,
Oh,
Mm.
you go right
interesting.
ahead. That'd be
Yeah, Dan, we'll
very.
we'll cut this conversation of Dave's out of this one.
Yeah.
So
You just hear like poorly edited. I was wrong.
All right, I just had to speak my piece.
That's funny.
Well done.
Good callback. That's good. What'd you think of the Kingpin like fighting this old lover of Vanessa's with the axe battle down in the base of this one place? Like what are we doing here?
Felt villainous but petty at the same time.
Extremely, but he is kind of that guy, I guess, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, come
I
on, you had an axe, buddy.
The spin in my head is that kind of like he was channeling like all the things he wanted to do, like as the mayor, like into that, and was just like, oh, I'm gonna really toy the crap out of this and kind of try to drag it out some. So that angle I can kind of see.
Okay,
Well, I
okay.
think it's only fair since I was so right about the cop thing that I should admit that I was wrong about that Adam being Adam Warlock. So I guess you can't win them all.
That was a real concern we had. Um, well, let's go back. I got a couple other plots here just to pick up on and see what you guys made of these as we went through this season. We left off at the end of episode 2 in a looking like it could be pretty positive ending here, perhaps for Hector Ayala, who was on trial with Murdoch and does win his case. Let's put that out there. Matt had to expose who he was as the masked vigilante White Tiger. But once that court case is over in episode 3, didn't see that coming. So,
That was
uh,
an almost comical shot of him like running down the street
Oh yeah.
and then like bam, bullet to the head.
oh, I
I
felt
was
so
like, oh
bad.
shit, okay.
So what does that magical amulet do? It obviously doesn't like give him good reflexes.
Yeah,
Well,
right?
doesn't let him dodge bullets. We know that.
Yeah.
Doesn't let his was it his niece
Yeah.
not get kidnapped and almost bled to death?
Yeah,
What happened to her? We did we see her again
She
after that?
she showed up at Matt's law firm, kind of
Yeah,
complaining. She helped uh kind of like lead him on some of the breadcrumbs around the Muse stuff, but then yeah, towards the end it stopped.
we just didn't see. I think we maybe like they cut to her once in a montage, I feel like.
that could be. Yep.
But that was it. I hope they're not done with that character.
Yeah.
I want to see her take up the mantle.
Well, we chatted about the Muse storyline already a little bit, but anything else you want to add in there from like that particular scene down in the subway tunnels with Angela and Muse? And was he mad at the time, or was he Daredevil at the time?
He was costumed, he was
He was
Daredevil.
costumed. Okay.
He was also unshaven, like more unshaven, it felt like than usual, which was
Okay.
interesting. It was an interesting dynamic. I know there's been a lot of chatter about his ability to like read the drawings Muse did of his
Oh
girlfriend.
yeah, that's right.
Mixed feelings on that.
That was really stupid.
They, there must have been another way they could have done that.
Agreed.
It did
It,
seem
it
a
is
little odd.
it is not comics inaccurate as he's been able to like actually read the indentation of like letters and stuff on paper, but one I don't
Follow the brush strokes. Follow the brush strokes.
know.
The way
Uh,
they cut to like him was touching his whose face was it that it was a drawing of? I can't remember.
I think it
But they
was Heather's, right?
Heather's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they cut back for a second to like him earlier that episode touching Heather's face. I was like, oh, that is stupid.
Remember?
Do you remember? Remember?
We remember.
Maybe,
But that still just goes to my
Pepperidge Farm
conspiracy
members.
theory that that entire storyline was like injected during all the reshoots,
maybe we needed another lens flare just to
just
really
to be
sell it
sure.
out there. The anti-vigilante force with the Kingpin. What's your take on these guys and what he's doing here?
Frightening but effective. I think there was lines in there about like vigilanteism is down like 20% or something. I'm like, what exactly, like how are they getting that stat?
Yeah, really.
Good question.
I thought it
Um,
was very timely with ICE
Uh,
being the fucking Gestapo these days. So that was well done.
well, Dave, you got Swordsman on here. Is like a couple episodes. He makes a quick cameo. Does that count as a MCU tie-in for you?
It counts as a tie-in, but it's in my notes that I thought it was disappointing. Tony Dalton is such an amazing performer and totally wasted here. Like
yeah.
pretty much wasted in Hawkeye as well. And then like I was so excited to see him, back, but then he just has like one conversation and then he's in a cage and that was Swordsman for the season. I'm like, I need more of this character. I need more of this actor. I Give me more, please.
Well, maybe you'll get your wish in season 2. Looks like they
Yeah.
might be setting up that, but we'll see.
I hope so.
Of course, it could not be. I had a touch on this one too. This was really, was this the only episode that was kind of singularly focused in the whole season? I can't remember. It might be the bank heist episode.
Yep.
What did you guys think of it?
I enjoyed it from the concept of a comic annual, where like a comic is normally going like they've got a story, but then once a year they're like, hey, we're just gonna do this one-off story that doesn't tie directly into the
Hmm.
main. Like that's the way I view that episode. I'm like, this is a fun day in the life, and if the whole season was kind of like a vignette of like little things like this, that'd be great. Like I wouldn't have a problem with that. Just being
Yeah.
like, hey, we're just gonna. This is just like a month in Matt's life. Is like all these kind of random one-offs. But it like because the rest of the series was this larger arc, it felt off. Like it totally, and also like that kind of encapsulation thing. Like I thought it was a really great episode, but it felt shoved in.
I
Okay.
could see that. I also agreed it was a fun episode. I like just the concept of a bank heist and how this particular hero is going to thwart something like that. Was really exciting. I love that they brought Kamala Khan's dad into it. Um, I thought he was really fun. I thought it was just going to be like a little cameo at the beginning, and then he was like one of the central characters of that
Yeah.
particular episode. I did think that it was a bit on the nose about the eighth time he mentioned his daughter.
Yeah.
Um, Never mentioned his son. I was like, you have two kids, but that's okay. And I was curious what he's meant to do with that jewel at the end.
Yeah.
I was like, in the candies, it's like, what was Matt's intention there? That he keeps that he puts it back in the safety deposit box? I don't know. I thought that was a little wild. Did we ever find out why they wanted that, by the way?
Nope.
They, hmm.
Lots of people online are like, it's orange like the Soul Stone. Like, all right, it's just a big diamond.
It's
Just calm
not the
down.
Soul Stone.
It's a
Yeah,
MacGuffin.
what?
It did
Um,
seem to have more significance, but so why'd they go through with all that?
And there was just a couple clips in like another episode, like looking back on this bank heist episode. Otherwise, it was like fairly forgettable. Is the other problem? Is it just it didn't tie into anything else.
so I didn't pick up on this at all because sometimes I watch stuff and I'm just a dense viewer and I'll be the first to admit it. But I was reading the episode summaries on Wikipedia here and they were like, apparently, I didn't even realize there was a purpose for the bank heist, period. I just thought it was a fun event. But apparently, this is when Vanessa had taxed the one gang leader to pay the other gang leader the 1.8. That's whose gang is breaking into the bank to get the money to pay the other gang leader, which I didn't pick up on at all. Um, but apparently there's some connection in there. That's why they're breaking into the bank is to get the money to pay this guy due to the fee that Vanessa has told them they had to pay. So
So was that
maybe.
gem
Something.
worth exactly 1.8 million? That was just a very convenient way to pay the debt, or what
Yeah,
the
right.
fuck?
I don't know. Like I said, I didn't realize I was connected till then. So
Admittedly, our minds don't work like criminals, though. So maybe there's more
that's
logic in that.
true.
I just want my mind to work like the writers, I guess, that I can understand what they're doing.
Do you? Because
Well,
we see your background tonight. So do we want your mind to work like the writers?
I,
Maybe,
I
maybe.
would not the writers. I would say the editors. The editors were the ones who had to do the heavy lifting in all of this.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
I thought the bank episode was a lot of fun, though, just to, again, kind of put him in this small, I've said this so many times on the podcast, but like a small situation sometimes is more enjoyable to watch these superheroes play around in
Yeah, it
Yeah.
limited
puts up
confines.
constraints, and that's where especially the street level heroes like Daredevil, like that's the kind of like their selling point is that like, hey, I can't. If I was Captain America, I would have thrown my shield and taken out all of these bank robbers, and it would have been done. But no, Daredevil's going to be more like elegant and smooth about it.
Yeah, yeah. All right. How about well, yeah, let's do this. Any scenes, yeah, do I want to say scenes you like, scenes you didn't like, or is that going to get into this last part first? Let me tell you what, let's go through and let's wrap up the last episode first, and then we'll go back to that.
Okay.
So last episode's got a few different threads that I'm going to say continuing on because this was very much like a final episode that didn't really tie up a lot of threads. Like it was very clearly
Agreed.
we're setting up for season two, which originally the show was 18 episodes, and
Hmm.
coincidentally now we're getting nine in season one and nine in season two. Seems a little convenient.
It did get a little across the Spider-Verse there at the end.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It felt like a mid-season finale, not a season finale.
Yeah. All right, so we have kind of a couple things happen here in this last episode. Obviously, we're full spoilers here for the whole thing, but if you haven't seen the finales, it'd be, I guess, time to stop that. But we have, first of all, Fisk going around declaring martial law in the town and rounding up all of the vigilantes, which Dave, I think, mentioned some of them are already in cages in this kind of holding pen that they have. And then we have Heather agreeing to become Kingpin's mental health coordinator for the city of New York, I guess. This is
She's
the,
gonna be a busy lady.
It's a big, yeah,
yeah,
big job.
it's a big job, I guess. And then Matt showing, I thought actually a little more restraint than he typically does when he is with Karen, who's returned here at the end, and they're kind of like sitting on those rocks, and she talks him out of storming in there.
Yeah.
Which, I
Is
mean,
this the
he
first time he's ever been talked out of anything?
Yeah,
I
right.
think
maybe.
maybe.
And he had just been shot, so I was like, how is this going to work? Like,
Oh,
As
that.
when he ends the second to last episode, like bleeding out on the floor, I was like, I know this fucker's gonna be fighting in the next episode,
Yep.
like moving around like it's no problem. And sure enough, he was, but also they they at least sometimes acknowledge that he was
Wounded.
injured. And that
yeah,
scene was it was nice to see someone actually talk sense into him for once.
Yep.
yeah,
Would have been a
agreed.
lot cooler when he was getting in the way of that bullet for him to somehow deflect it, but not that everyone know.
Hmm.
That would have been smooth. But instead, he got.
Let's chat on that scene for a second then. So we got Daredevil basically escaped from prison and he's shooting. So this was, again, the complexities here with your layering of your villains, right? So we have Vanessa who had originally hired Bullseye, but here we have Bullseye on the balcony shooting Wilson Fisk, but then we had Matt dodge and take the bullet. I mean, did that work for you
Right.
guys?
Dodge or him taking the bullet, yes. The way he took the bullet and then like his speed of recovery, and I know people will point to like stick training him on how to like speed up his metabolism or something to help him heal, but it was still like it's a big hit. And I have a feeling Bullseye's not firing little bullets. I'm sure that was a pretty serious thing. So I think that the scene played out well in that moment, and it was really cool. And like I remember watching the end of that and like it ending on that and being really really surprised and impressed and not ready for what was going to come. But then within the next episode, I was like, okay, this was kind of a non-point.
I'm with you. I liked it. I thought it was very in character for Matt to jump in front of that bullet, even for Wilson Fisk. Um, I I had a glimmer of hope for something that I'm sure is like a hot take or like I thought for a moment that Fisk would actually become sympathetic or even like grateful for the fact that uh Daredevil had saved his life because it might just be that I'm kind of tired, honestly, of the Daredevil Kingpin dynamic. I really want the show to do something else than to have them be forever at odds, but never able to like finish each other off since they're like the two leads on the show. And I was hoping that maybe they would start seeing eye to eye on stuff, or I don't know, dare I say, like working together sometimes, like in a Magneto Professor X kind of
Yep.
way, to have that kind of dynamic based on this incident, the time that Matt saved his life. And it was I probably dumb of me to like have that idea and hope for it because of course in the next episode Fisk was like finish him.
We can use
Well,
this
Dave,
against him.
I don't know where you're coming up with that. It's not like there was a show called Echo, which centered around the ending scene where like Kingpin was forced to like feel his emotions and actually come to terms with things and feel empathy. It's not like that happened. So yeah, there's no way that what you're saying could have possibly happened.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I I wish that had been the case.
And that would have been a really cool element. That's something in the comics in terms of like them having to actually like begrudgingly work together to some degree, or like yeah, feel some kind of relationship. It would have tied in really well with the cafe scene that they had earlier in the season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. How about
I
you,
thought it
Cody?
might go
What'd
there
you
for a
think?
split second also, Dave, because otherwise when it happened, I was like, whoa, like big moment. Um, I don't know. I don't fully buy, even though that Matt would take the bullet. I don't know. Maybe he would, but at that point he knows like Daredevil's corrupt, and that was like the whole deal was he was like, if you're, from the cafe scene, it was like if you go corrupt and become Kingpin again, then I'm taking you down, like whatever. So yeah, I guess he's gonna use the justice, but like the whole season is him reacquiring like the Daredevil mantle and maybe like taking things a little more physically. So I don't know. I didn't fully buy that he would jump in. The only thing I could think of is Daredevil may, in all of his infinite hearing powers and perception, like Kingpin was dancing with Heather at the time, so I didn't know if he was also jumping in case it had hit Heather. Like that was the only way I could sell it in my mind, but he's been shown to be like so accurate with what he can perceive that I was like, he knows it wasn't gonna hit her, but maybe the bullet was so fast that he did jump in. I don't know. It seemed a little bit off to me,
Mhm.
in ways that maybe I'm not fully getting out here into words, but that's what I'm attempting to say.
Well,
Um,
it's not like this is a character they have in the past slowed down to be able to show his like thought process through situations exactly like this, but
right.
that was slash S.
He yeah, what was I gonna say here? Um, I kind of think it would have been interesting too, like you're saying, Dave, if they had worked together, because I thought maybe that was where it was going to go too, was Kingpin was going to have a little change of heart. But I guess like at the same time, I don't know who they would have teamed up against per se, like the cops that
Oh,
just went rogue by
Vanessa.
themselves. Like Vanessa would have been in charge of the gangs, and that would have been how it played out. And I guess
I mean,
Vanessa would have been the
Bullseye's
obvious
still out
choice.
there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He
I'm
is.
sure he's unhappy with both of them.
Is he interesting slash even enough of a threat as who he is to like go against the NYPD, Kingpin, and Daredevil, and seemingly Punisher also? I don't know, but I kind of hope that we're gonna do something else with that a little bit as well. Finishing up here, last episode, we have really towards the end of the episode proper, Matt Murdock meeting back at Josie's where the season kicked off, which I thought was a nice little bit of, return to where we started type thing. More or less pep talking, giving like a speech to see if he can put together a team, it seems like they're setting it up to be like this is going to be like a Daredevil Civil War basically in season two. I don't know how much of that we're actually going to get, but they're setting it up like it could be that way. Thoughts on this?
So was his
That
team the random bar goers who were in Josie's that day?
yeah,
Who?
that in
Go
terms of
ahead.
like any moment it would have been perfect for like a significant cameo. Like my God. Like Ms. Marvel suddenly showing up or something like that. Like that would have been the moment. But yeah, from what I remember, it was like, hey, all of you, I'll buy your next couple rounds if you come try to help me stop this infighting in New York.
Well, have Jessica Jones walk in the door. That
Excellent
would have
point.
been an amazing moment.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have probably been the best thing they could have done in that moment, actually.
Yep.
Um, well, maybe we get a hint at what might come here with our not unheard of in Marvel, but a little unusual for TV shows, I feel like sometimes, with our mid-credit scene here in our finale, where we find the Punisher luckily gets the world's most gullible guard to
No joke.
watch his cell for
What a
him.
fucking idiot.
Oh my God. I don't know. Yeah, it's beyond that. Any thoughts on the mid-credit? Obviously, he seems like he's getting out, and then I mean, that raises the questions, I guess, for us as we're waiting for season two. Like, did he escape himself, or did he actually take the time to like help all of these other people out of their cages? Because if so, and they walk into Josie's, then there's your vigilante army
There you go.
which could have swordsmen and some other people maybe we're not as familiar with. And maybe we do get like a young white tiger in there or a Jessica Jones, or maybe Jessica Jones is in one of the cages already, and that's how they're introducing her. I don't know.
If only Matt had previously been part of a team that he
Yeah.
could that he could call
Oriented
upon.
around defending New York.
This is true. Yeah, it's a great point too. Yeah. I think maybe he was going to go that route, and then he was like, but then Iron Fist is going to hear about it, so let's just find some new people. We'll call it
That's a
good.
good point. That's a good point.
Oh
We'll call
God,
it
that
good.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Okay, so that's kind of that. I just wanted to finish up scenes here. Any particular, like, was your favorite scene for the rest of these episodes that we watched, even if it's one we talked about, just like a favorite scene you had, or a scene that kind of was your least favorite scene?
I'll give scene type. They did a lot of like parallels between Matt and Fisk, especially like visually, when like Matt's going upstairs to put on his costume and Fisk is going downstairs where he's keeping Adam. They kept doing that, or like in Matt's having like a really really awful relationship with Heather, or an awful fight with Heather, and then Fisk is showing Vanessa like, oh, here's Adam. Like they kind of like, if you watched a whole bunch of the scenes, they were like these kind of like complementary, like, okay, well, this
Mm.
is this is how things are going in Matt's life, and it's going the opposite direction in Fisk's.
In the first episode, when they have the first fight at Josie's, and they do like the classic Daredevil like one shot fight scene, when they came back and did it later in the season, and it was really really incredible. That was my favorite scene for sure because I was waiting all season for that. So when they finally did it, I was like pumping my fist in the air.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this is what I've been waiting for the whole time. So that was really, really exciting for me when they definitely did the thing that everyone was waiting for them to do.
I love it.
It's a staple of the series.
No, it
Like, I
is,
can't,
yeah.
I can't believe they like they did it once when the before the first credits rolled. So it's like they understood the assignment. And then I don't know if that was just a victim of the chopping block that the whole series was on, or if if it's part of the back nine episodes, and that's why it
Yeah.
wasn't in these front nine. That's probably the most likely cause. But uh, I don't know. I was waiting for it, and it just never happened. And it was sad.
Well, the rumors of the original version of the show was like, it was so much more procedural, and like the superhero stuff didn't even show up until like halfway through. Like yeah, it felt like there was almost not space for some of that. I mean, like, where could you do that? You couldn't do it in the bank heist episode, and there was not another like significant threat until the end.
Hmm.
So I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying
Maybe
that,
the
like,
Muse fight, but otherwise, yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
The Muse fight or the fight with Heather, either one of those would have been, somewhat opportunities to do it, but
yeah.
it's fair.
One of my favorite scenes from the other seven episodes is both one of my favorite scenes and also a scene that I have a lot of issues with, which was the fight after he was shot basically and limped back to his apartment and found Punisher there. Like that 2-on-2 fight was one of my favorite fights of the season, just to watch Daredevil and Punisher kind of work in tandem. Um, and I think maybe they do have Punisher like pick up a little bit of slack for Daredevil, maybe when he's injured there as well. Like he can't cover himself from behind as much as he used to or whatnot.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
it's a pretty fun fight scene. But my
Mhm.
my qualm with it, I guess, is I'm like, we've seen, both of these characters take out how many random villains over the years, and like these two cops are giving them like such trouble that it's like Daredevil and Punisher can barely beat these two
Well,
non.
it was more than two cops.
Was it two cops?
I thought it was like a whole SWAT team.
Yeah, it
Maybe it
was it was
was.
like
Yeah, maybe it was. You're right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you might be right. Okay.
I
Let's-
did enjoy that one cop that they had kind of like, they pinned his hand to the wall. They're like,
Yeah.
no, we're not going to kill this one. And then like, oh, but there's this grenade. And granted, they had to jump out, but I was like, oh no, he's done.
That was when there's like one grenade and that's like jump off the roof. I was like, I think you're far enough away. You're probably okay. And then, and then they show from below like the entire apartment exploding. was like, oh, okay, I guess that was the right call. That was some grenade.
Would have been it for you. All right.
Matt's not getting a security deposit back on that place, is he?
De- Definitely not. Well, they know where he lives now, so I don't know where he's going anyway at this point. But all right, anything else that we left out here from this season? Anything else CGI or technically or anything we didn't touch on either?
Well, I felt like there was a lot less CGI in the second half, right? I'm trying to think if there was. It seemed like so much of it was practical.
It's really like that first episode, him jumping across the rooftops was the only time I was like, oh, that looks awful.
Hmm.
And then the rest of the season was perfectly fine, or,
Yeah.
I didn't really notice CGI, much less bad CGI.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good.
There's probably some in like somebody gets stabbed and like blood goes spraying out. That was probably not
Oh, that
practical.
Bullseye spitting his tooth into that cop's eye. Like that was a
Oh,
lot of blood. A lot.
that was that was wild. That's not physically possible. I don't care if you do have perfect aim. You can't do that. That was actually pretty fun.
It made it even better when 'cause I think the tooth came out because Matt was like pounding his head into the table a little bit earlier, and when
Yeah.
he goes,
Oh
"Thank you,
yeah.
counselor."
So wait, so yeah, wait. Do we think that was Matt's plan?
I don't
Was
think it
that
was the plan. I think
intentional?
it was he just didn't realize that he was giving him a weapon.
I think a case can be made for like that was Matt's plan.
Oh, here we go.
To
Here's
what
the
end though?
bet.
Why
Place
would
your
he?
bets.
Because he wanted to get Bullseye out without explicitly getting Bullseye out, and he was like mad about it. Maybe I probably need to rewatch the
To
scene,
do
but
what
Well,
though? Kill Bullseye?
I
Like
have to put the hard brakes on this because Matt's plan was I'm going to give this guy a tooth so he can slaughter his way through the prison staff,
kill
including the doctor.
multiple innocent
and
people.
then
Yeah,
maybe
all
shoot
right.
Kingpin and I'll jump in front of it and take the
Yeah,
bullet.
And then Kingpin
Long
will be on
con.
my side and not just
Yes.
try
that's
And then
to.
that's some
immediately
5D
Kingpin was
chess.
like, "Nope." He was like, "Well, I wasted all that effort."
All
That
right,
poor doctor.
I'm definitely wrong about that one.
Okay, well, let's throw some ratings on this, then we can briefly chat about where we think season two may be going at this point, or things we'd like to see in season two. So, does anybody want to go first here for their rating on this one?
I'm going to give it a 7.9. It's still very watchable. I this has gone down since my original ratings just because of the cohesiveness throughout the series. Like it definitely has a through line, but some of it feels really weak and it like if it was more cohesive, and I think that a big part of that is I keep harping on this is the kind of rewrites and the reshoots that they had to do and like really add a lot in. That and what the hell is a Freeport?
Yeah, we didn't even touch on that. That's a little weird.
I don't know if there's legal precedent for that particular idea
Right?
introduced by the show.
That was a little strange.
All right, Cody thankfully reminded me that I gave this a 4 last time, which on my scale means that I think it's better than like 40% of the MCU content. I it's probably around the same right now, but I feel like it maybe is even a little lower. I'm going to say 3.5, but it has the potential to go up a lot based on what they do with the next season, essentially the second half of this season. If they can kind of now, if the train is back on the tracks now, then and they go full steam ahead, then I think it'll be really enjoyable. That said, I like I touched on earlier, I am kind of tired of the Daredevil Kingpin dynamic. I'll say it again, and I want them to find a way to mix that up or do something a little bit different with the two main characters of the show.
Yeah, that's. I'm trying to think what they could actually do, like if they took Kingpin out of the show by death or by some story
Yeah,
or
if season two ended with Kingpin back in jail, would that feel satisfying?
Well, it depends on how long he stays in jail.
Well, the answer to that's
because
not super long.
we've had a season end with him going to jail. So,
Yeah.
and then he was just out with zero explanation.
Well, let's assume he's there longer than Punisher. How would you feel about that? Um, I don't remember. I see the numbers here for the last one. I don't know if I was the nine. Somebody gave this a nine. Somebody gave this
I
eight.
think I was the 9.
You were the nine? Okay. Yeah, this is I enjoyed. Looking just forward to this every week to getting to it. It did really make me pine for the good old days of the Netflix series that of which there were three, I believe. I think they stopped after Luke Cage. That was the only last one they put out. Oh no, because I did like Punisher, so that's not true. But anyway, I enjoyed it quite a bit. There were a lot of fun things in here. I mean, it was a fun season, as much as there's a lot of little things I can pick apart in terms of the plot line and some of the characters and choices that they made and things of that nature. But there was a lot to enjoy here. Just some really fun battle scenes, and also hope, I think, for the next season, which I don't think that necessarily gets at points for this season, but yeah, Karen back in the mix. We'll talk about that in a second here. I'm going to go a little higher on this one. I am going to drop this at an 8.7 for me, which with Dave's lovely ranking, I think gets us to a 6.7 overall for our score on this one. Now, if it had just been Dan and I, we'd be right in line with Rotten Tomatoes and everything else.
Hmm.
So if there was something that you hate, if you hated this, what score out of 10 would you be giving it? Like a 5? Like what?
You talk about me?
How does your rating system, how does everyone's rating system work? Not like mine. I don't get it.
No, mine is exactly the same as yours, but as I've clarified, you rate MCU versus MCU in a bubble, and I'm saying I would enjoy this more than 87% of what I would watch.
Everything? Oh,
Everything.
okay.
So I have the whole bubble. You use the
Hmm.
MCU bubble. So if I hated this, if do I hate this as an MCU property? I mean, it still might get a 5 because I'd still probably enjoy shite MCU better than Love Island and all the other shit that's out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're even counting stuff that you
That's how
would
I rate.
never even watch.
Or
Doesn't that
stuff
make
that I have seen, I just didn't like, you know?
Okay. I feel like
Just
if
me.
you're counting content you would never even watch, then everything you do watch should start at like a 9.5. I'm
If it
picking
was
things apart
maybe two
needlessly.
proportions, I mean, maybe that's true, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
I've been down as low as like 3 on things we've reviewed on here before. I mean, just, you know, and that's with
Yeah.
me at least having passing interest in watching that thing for a review.
Book of
Um,
Boba Fett. Yeah, okay, I get
Oh,
it.
yeah.
that one was okay.
I can't defend that one.
Sometimes
Uh,
the stuff that's so bad doesn't even make it on the podcast, though. Like I was just talking about a couple weeks again about Justin and I were going to review Sinking City, the video game, and like it's not even a two. Like I wouldn't even waste the time to make a podcast on it. It's out there,
Oh,
but
interesting.
I wouldn't rate it like it's that bad. So
yeah. And like I'll give you an example. It's MCU, but Secret Invasion, like that's a 2. Meaning like it's something out of 10 friends, I might like this extreme diehard completionist, I might recommend it. I might tell like 2 of them to watch it, but the other 8 I tell them to like leave it the hell alone. Don't go anywhere near it.
Would you recommend that or Eternals?
I
Eternals.
I'm sorry.
Eternals.
I do this all the time. I said Eternals. I meant the fucking
Oh, you mean the
Inhumans.
Inhumans.
Inhumans. I do that all the
Oh
time. Sorry.
God.
Which one
Um
would you recommend more?
I've never seen that one,
oh,
so I can't comment.
really, really tough question. I'd recommend Secret Invasion just a little bit more because I think Inhumans isn't even like true to the characters. I think it's very much they took it's a poor representation. I don't even want people to like know those characters exist almost.
Well, it's Secret Invasion is not really true to the Nick Fury that we know in the MCU. Anyway, all right,
That's true.
I'm just picking fights here, so I'll shut up.
Hmm.
You're good. Hey, I pulled back mine. I gave Secret Invasion a 5 out of 10, and that was still higher than Winter Soldier's 4 out of 10 that I gave to it. So there we go. And I gave the first season of What If a 2.5. So you really want to
Oh,
get
damn.
critical here?
You
Ugh,
track this stuff, huh?
I just
yeah.
kept the MCU ones down for. Actually, I have been keeping track of everyone I do now as well. But let's get to just a brief chat on the next season here. What do we think is going to happen? What do we want to happen in season two? What are we looking
Uh,
forward to? Karen Page being there for the full season?
Absolutely. Karen Page is a main character. Honestly, I think the show needs her.
I want to see some like really big Civil War as like, but it's street level breakdowns. Or yeah, there having to be a couple of people Matt might be able to call on, like a particular lawyer on the West Coast he slept with. Like it would be pretty nice to be able to call that person in to kind of back him up and get. I want to see some growth of Matt in terms of like you've obviously been trying to go about this solo and it hasn't been working. Why don't you like lean a little bit more on the team thing?
Guess he
I
was
mean,
like,
this
do you
guy
remember
knows
the Defenders?
Spider-Man.
Ah, yeah, sure.
I know there's a less than 0% chance of Spider-Man being on the Daredevil show, but come on.
He was mentioned.
They could
Punisher
work.
was mentioned. He showed up.
They could work out a deal where they like pan in from really far away and it's Andrew Garfield.
There you go. Well, I mean, there is the element of like maybe Spider-Man never takes his mask off and it's like he doesn't say anything.
And he passes Tom Holland on the street.
Right, yeah.
Um,
Or there's that whole Avengers thing, which it still bugged me. Avengers Tower never being in the skyline. I mean, like really? We couldn't do that once?
Oh, yeah, good call.
I have read that there is apparently still some problem between TV Marvel and movie Marvel, and I don't have all the details in front of me
Thank you,
here,
like
but
Perlmutter.
there's like
Yeah.
they can use one and the other, but not the other and the other or something. So
Okay.
like, it was Vincent D'Onofrio said I can't contractually appear in the MCU movies.
Yeah,
That's what it
I heard
was.
that too about him.
Interesting.
Because I was like, so is he the new mayor of New York and like the MCU? Because he should be, right? So he
Yeah.
should be popping
Consistency.
up on all kinds of things now.
Is that like, are you saying that's based on his original Netflix
I
contract?
don't know. I don't know the
Or,
deals or why he said that. I don't know if I can
It
find that or
it
not,
it
but
does tickle me quite a bit that at some point there were some very high paid lawyers in a room with comic book nerds going like, no, no, no. Kingpin showed up in Amazing Spider-Man 152. That means he's
yeah.
he has to be played in the MCU movies by Michael Clark Duncan.
yeah.
Sorry, but that's just how it has to be.
You're screwed. Uh, so this is yeah, this was just on April 4th, which I guess was a few weeks ago. He said, I can't be in a movie, not even a one-off Wilson Fisk movie, because of rights and stuff. I don't know how we would work that deal out, or even if it would work out at all. I can only be in TV shows.
Lame.
Doesn't Disney own enough? Come on.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what? I don't know.
It's
There's
wild.
larger bald guy in a big
Oh
white
yeah, it might
suit with a
might be. It
sweep in the
says,
back.
well, I don't know. This says maybe because he did debut as a Spider-Man villain, maybe Sony owns the rights, but like Sony works with Disney these days
Yeah.
anyway, so like I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this. It's craziness. I'm trying to think too, like as much as I think this like Civil War idea would be really fun, like who's on Kingpin's team? Just like the leftover police that didn't get killed in season one?
The
It's not going to be
Goober,
Yeah.
Bullseye because Bullseye just shot him.
Sheila.
Cooper.
Yeah,
Randomly Muse is not dead. He shows up.
it does feel like he's a little shorthanded to take on an actual team of superhero people,
The
Would be
zombie
pretty cool
corpse of
if
Adam.
pretty
right?
cool if the mayor suddenly had the ability to like say let villains out of the raft or something, because in the comics the raft is actually like in New York City.
There you go. That'd be cool. Or like the scene where like they go down to do it, but they see Liv Tyler talking to somebody and they're like, fuck it, we're out of here. Not worth our time. We're done. We're done. Yeah, I don't know. More Karen, more are we gonna get more Punisher season two? I mean, we'll have to a little bit, right? Or is this I think he's gonna get his own show though, also, right?
He is going to get his own show, but oh God, I just realized that end credit scene that might be the lamest way to be like, oh no, Frank got out himself, and that's why he's not in season two at all. He got out and he ran away.
Oh, like
That would be the
Daredevil breaks
lamest
him out of the
writing.
jail and there's just no Frank Castle.
Yeah, yeah, it's just an empty cage and everyone else is there.
Did you guys like or dislike the little Karen love triangle with the three of them in that final episode?
I
How do you
thought they
feel
were going
about
to get
that?
it on, but it didn't happen.
Hey, yeah, I'd
Oh,
watch it.
Matt and his tension.
Old Daredevil.
I would.
Pun fist her. All right, let's move on. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were saying, Dan?
I was overly hopeful that that was Matt being like a good friend and like kind of like trying to encourage that rather than someone like bitter and jealous. But now that I'm kind of reviewing in my mind, he was more like bitter and jealous, like some kind of middle school boy, wasn't he?
I thought it was somewhere in the middle where he's neither encouraging or discouraging of it. I think he just has like, you know, old feelings for Karen, but recognizes that maybe she and Frank have something, and I don't know. I didn't know what to make of that. I was kind of glad that like that tension was acknowledged, even if it didn't go
Yeah,
anywhere.
that's true.
He's
I was
such a
wondering
vain
too who
whore.
she was supposed to end up with. Like, yeah, exactly what you guys are talking about. He needs to maybe let her go to Punisher and then drop this other girl of his and go for his partner at the law firm. That's
Oh,
just me.
she's been dropped. I think that's pretty.
You don't think he's going to try to win her back yet?
No,
We gotta give Dan. We
Well,
gotta make sure we get Dave on record here. You don't think
there's
so, Dave? They're not going to end up together. Is what you're saying?
they are not.
There's
She
no
was
reunion
the
happening in the next season. Is what you're telling
flavor
us?
of the week. They'll reunion like they'll see each other. They're still characters on the show, but I don't
Okay.
think they're getting back together.
You don't think they're getting back together? Okay.
there
You
could
don't
be
think he's
so much more
eventually he's
sexy
going to
shower
have to
time.
tell her
I think
that
Daredevil has
that
a new girlfriend in every season of
that's
anything
gonna
he's
have
in.
to be a
So,
scene. He's eventually gonna have to tell her, right? Or she's gonna find out from Kingpin in 2 seconds that
Ooh,
Matt is Daredevil.
good call. That's gonna be a big scene.
Is that gonna make her see everything from season one differently all of a sudden?
Yeah,
I don't know.
and they can reuse a whole bunch of footage from season one. That'll save them a few
Maybe
dollars.
maybe she starts banging Daniel. I don't know.
I didn't.
Here's the thing. We're gonna need you to delete that footage. All of the Daredevil mentions in there. All of them.
Then go get me some gabagoo.
Yeah, that. Do it. We gotta get D'Angela fighting as White Tiger?
I hope so.
Or is she just too young to fight as White Tiger?
Yeah,
Can we trust
she
the younger actor? I don't know. Maybe. I guess so. Hard to say how young she is, I guess.
They
like
could
if
age her up depending on how much time they jump here.
yeah, in like what age she was when they started filming versus now. So maybe potentially, and
Yeah.
that is the fan favorite version of White Tiger. So if anyone was going to show
Hmm.
up as White Tiger, it'd be her.
Much time are they going to try to age her? There's middle of the
Yeah,
conversation at the bar, and somebody walks in to like buy a drink. They're like, "Who is? You look kind of familiar."
yeah. Did
21,
you?
Matt. This meeting's been going on for 10 years.
It was my magical amulet. It is
Yeah.
puberty powers.
It set me up 10. Oh,
Many
yes.
powers.
The amulet's powers to age you 6 years.
But so you guys didn't know Hector Iola was 14. It's just
He looked rough, man, for 14. Dang. Dang, he looked rough. Oh my gosh. All right. Anything else you want to get out on season two here? Are we good to call this one?
let's put the goddamn logo on the costume already. Come on.
Which one? Daredevil or
Yeah,
Bullseye or
no,
who?
the double Bullseye too. You're right.
Yeah.
That's a good call. But the
All
double
right. All right.
D's,
You want to see some sweet double D's?
oh my
The
God.
double
I was
D's.
waiting. I was edging all the way through the season, expecting them to show up, and they never showed.
Yeah. I think, yeah. 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 Yeah.
Good podcast content.
Yeah.
Just us being silent as Cody's going, hmm, yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh goodness. All right. We good, guys?
I
Yeah,
think
We're
so.
good.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Let's wrap it. Let's wrap it. Oh, wait, Dan, one thing I wanted to ask you before we're off the air, though. I was planning to watch Thunderbolt's opening weekend. Are you?
Oh yeah.
Good. So I just wanted to get a yes or no from Dave if he's going to watch it opening weekend for that next podcast.
I'm gonna make that happen. Yeah.
Good.
I don't know when, on what day, because Emily's leaving me single parenting for a little bit here. But I am very, very excited for that one. So I will make that happen.
There you go. All right.
Excellent.
Sounds good.
There's good buzz on it, so
I'm
fingers
excited.
crossed.
I'm excited too. I think it'll be a fun one.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a fun one. All right, everybody. Well, this has been our review of Daredevil Born Again, season 1 on Disney Plus. That's been Dan, that's been Dave, this is Cody, and this has been the Fawn Pod. Friends occasionally not disagreeing. We will see you all next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Splat.